Just remember, I'm a human, and human forget. So remind me to do wrong. Greetings, friends. I'm Patrick Cook, sitting in for Reverend Bevon White for our Tuesday reflection, and I'll be sharing with you for the rest of this month up to the first Tuesday in September. Let me share with us the watchword for today and the reflection from that watchword. Psalm 78 verse 4. We will tell to the coming generation the glorious deeds of the Lord and his might and wonders that he hath done. We are a people who are prone to forget. We must work hard to remember. The need to remember and not forget is a theme that runs throughout this psalm. We must remember God's mercy and faithfulness. But the temptation is to forget, which leads to doubt, which turns to unbelief and rebellion. If we are going to remain faithful to God, especially in difficult times, it is essential that we remember who God is and all that he has done on our behalf. Psalm 78 is often classified as a historical psalm because the majority of the psalm is given to a retelling of the history of the nation of Israel, from their time in Egypt to the reign of King David. But this isn't history for the sake of records, friends. It's history with a lesson. What the psalmist shows throughout the psalm is God's faithfulness to his people despite their unfaithfulness. He also shows that their repeated rebellion was due in large part to their inability to remember. Another major theme in the psalm is that each generation has a responsibility to teach the next generation about the works and words of God. In the historical section of the psalm, we are told of two consecutive generations who were unfaithful. The people not only failed to remember for themselves, but they failed to adequately teach the next generation. Psalm 78 is a wisdom psalm written to instruct God's people. The theme is the goodness and kindness of God to his stubborn and rebellious people. As for the writer began by asking for the attention of God's people so they could hear the wisdom he would speak. So Psalm 78 begins with a principle sometimes neglected among those who would speak wisdom to others. You must first gain the attention of your listeners if you would teach them and reach them. Asaph will not bring up new things for discussion, but things already within the mind of Israel, telling to the generation to come sing the praises of the Lord. Asaph knew what followed in this psalm came from events and themes received from their fathers. He also knew that what they had received, they had to pass on to the next generation. They had a responsibility to not hide it from their children. The praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he has done. Asaph was concerned about passing on at least three things to the next generation. One, the praises of the Lord, teaching them that God was worthy of our adoration and gratitude. 2, God's strength, his power and greatness above and beyond all. And 3, his wonderful works, that is, God's power and greatness in active assistance to his people. It is still good and necessary, friends, for us to pass these things on. We should often speak about them and tell the continually unfolding story of how God has done wonderful works in and through his people. This speaks, I want to suggest, to the importance of seeing and understanding the hand of God as he moves in and through history. The psalm emphasizes the strength and the wonderful works of God, not the strength or wonderful works of his people. The psalm is remarkably honest about the feelings of God's people. It is about teaching one generation to avoid the errors of previous generations. So, friends, let us all do as God commands, that the stories of his mighty acts in Israel's history, and ours as well, and his laws be passed on from us to our children. This also shows the purpose and importance of religious education to help each generation obey God and put their hope in him. It is important to keep our children from repeating the same mistakes as their ancestors. What are we doing to pass on the history of God's work to the next generation? May we be faithful to this cause. Amen.
I can't